What's going on, guys? Welcome back to W.D.Y.D. CSP. What do you do as a central still processor? Guys, we are going back to basics. We're going into decontamination, and we're talking about two specific medical devices. We're talking about the Medtronic Stylus. Okay, Medtronic, the Midas Rex Stylus, and we're talking about the Dionix Power Max Elite Shaver. I'm going to talk about the Stylus first. Do you guys know that this instrument isn't supposed to be soaked or submerged? I can't tell you how many facilities I've gone to where all the devices, all the attachments, and the stylus, as well as the container, is submerged for cleaning. When upon reading the IFU, the very first warning is do not soak or submerge. When rinsing, it has to be at an angle down, and as well as the connector. So when we get this item in decontamination, is a hand wash only item, right? Well, I'm going to go back. It's not a hand wash only item. It can be thrown into the washer disinfector, but the IFU does state that it will diminish the life or the performance of the stylus. So it can go into the washer disinfector, but it is a manually cleaned item that cannot be submerged or soaked. So when we get this into decontamination, the first sink is our rinse, should be our rinse sink, where we're taking off any chemistry or any gross soil that we see there. The second sink should have some enzymatic in there that we're going to clean, and we should be using either a lint-free towel or sponge. I am partial to sponges, but I do believe that they need to be, and they are, it's suggested and recommended that they be discarded frequently because they harbor a lot of microorganisms, right? It's very hard to clean these, but they leave less lint than a so-called lint-free towel would, right? But I would recommend using a sponge, soak it in enzymatic, get as much enzymatic out, and wipe the exterior out, especially the cord. If you're going to use a soft bristle brush, you definitely want to get one right around that little collar there. There's a little lock collar there or washer, right? You want to get under there really good, get a good brushing under there, right? Dip it in the enzymatic, get a good scrub on them hard surfaces, and then use your sponge to feed the actual device into your third sink. That should be your final rinsing sink, right? Even though the IFU states to rinse with regular tap water, doesn't necessarily call out to use reverse osmosis water or any treated water for that matter, right? Or any DI water, right? But you want to go ahead and dip this frequently in your solution, making sure not to submerge or soak any of the ends, okay? And go along, be careful and mindful to feel for any nicks that you may feel in the cord while you're cleaning it. And you should have expected that from the beginning, inspected to make sure that it didn't have any nicks or breaks in it before cleaning, right? You want to go ahead and get all this untangled prior to, because you see the hard time that I'm having untangling. This is actually a very long cord. So it's very easy that during cleaning and you have all those PPEs on, if you have that second sink filled up with solution, it's very easy to accidentally drop that into that solution and you wind up submerging this item. But if you go from the first sink and kind of hover over the second sink, going into the third sink, it's a good chance that you're gonna avoid doing that, right? Nice controlled motion, dipping in the solution frequently, going over, and then in the final sink, you want to give it a good rinse. Again, making sure that the connector is pointing downwards as well as the stylus. Give it a nice little 9-inch or so wrap, right? To place back in its container. The IFU also state that the attachments cannot be submerged, and when you clean it, you should be cleaning it outside of the container. As common sense as that may seem or sound like, it is not common sense in this field, right? So you want to go ahead and take that out of there. If you're gonna put it through the washer, I do recommend that you take it, put it in a basket, right? And angle the devices downwards, right? So any water can drain, even though the impingement happens above and below. But it'll be less likely to accumulate water in the device itself. Let's talk about this shaver. Now, the IFU tells you that you can soak this, but it has to have a soaking cap. But when you put that cap on, guys, very important. First, I don't have the cap. Second, if I did have the cap, I want to make sure that I have this O-ring here. It's nice, bright orange or red, whatever color you want to say it is. I want to inspect that to make sure that it's not chipped or broken, so that when you put that cap on, it's a nice tight seal. It should be flush metal to metal, and it should actually give a nice little torque to actually clamp on there and become a watertight seal. Again, as normal, you want to rinse the device. Make sure you're looking for any bioburden, any gross soils, any breaks in the cord or any cuts and things of that nature, any damages along the instrumentation that may cause further damage by cleaning improperly. The IFU also recommends 3 specific brushes for cleaning. I say there should be 4 brushes. The 3 brushes they're speaking of are right here. You have the lumen brush, you have the fan brush, and you have the blade opening brush, right? So the IFU recommends that you have the shaver in the open position, and you pass the lumen brush for about 30 seconds in and out of the device, right? So the device should be in the open position. You're gonna look for gross soils after soaking. Okay, you're gonna look for gross soils under the surface of the water and come back out, and you're gonna continue this for 30 seconds. From the distal end, the IFU then states that you have to go in through the proximal end with the brush and go in reverse. Okay, and that opening can be a little difficult to find actually if you don't know where it's at. Okay, there it goes right there. And you wanna do the same thing for 30 seconds that way. The IFU then states that you use the actual blade brush, which is actually this one, to brush the outside. This I'm not too happy about that, right? So I recommend you use a tooth style brush to brush the outside surface of the instrument and around the cannulating portion of it, the suction portion of it. It'll get better than what this would do, right? But I guess to minimize the amount of brushes you use, but this is key and a staple in decontamination, so I recommend that you use this. It'll do a much better job than this. But then it recommends that you use the port brush and in twisting motion, right? The blade opening twisting motion for 30 seconds. And then finally, you're using this fan brush because there is like a lip in there, right? That's really hard to clean, right? So you're gonna use this style brush here and you're gonna go in there and you're gonna do the same thing, right? You're gonna get that twisting motion, cleaning this very well for about 30 seconds, looking at the brush for any debris, damages, and you definitely wanna look inside there to see if any bristles broke off in there. You're gonna continue doing this for 30 seconds until it's visibly clean. And then another interesting point that was in decontamination is the hydrogen peroxide test. The IFU states that if you can't get a very good visual examination after cleaning inside there, then you can spray or squirt some hydrogen peroxide at 3% strength into the shaver. And if any bubbling is noted, okay, either coming out of the lumen or in the actual blade port, then that is a sign that there is some blood still left in the shaver. That was very interesting to me to see and something new. Well guys, I hope this video helped. As always, stay true to yourselves, keep it 100, continue educating yourself, and until next time, peace. Oh, and don't forget to rinse thoroughly, guys. Take care.